You've scanned the headlines, read the articles, and liked the posts. Now listen to the experts themselves in the Future of Work podcast, presented by allwork.space. Today, we welcome Livia Martini, Chief People Officer at Gympass, having joined the team in 2017 initially as the head of international operations. In her current role as CPO, she oversees a global team of over 1,800 employees across 11 countries. Livia is responsible for creating an exceptional working environment at Gympass, leveraging a wealth of experience in people management and financial operations.
Livia, thank you very much for joining us on the Future Work podcast today. We're really excited to have you with your expertise as the Chief People Officer from Gympass and all the interesting things that you and your organization have been doing. Can you start to give our audience just a little background on what Gympass does, how it works with corporations and sets up wellness programs for their employee groups?
Great. And thanks for having me, Frank. It's great to be here. So Gympass is a corporate well-being benefit. So essentially, we partner with people like me, the heads of HR, the heads of benefit in other companies, and we implement holistic well-being program for the employees. So this is almost like you have a menu of several activities that you can do and several providers of those activities, all the way from nutrition to an actual regular full service gym or studios. And each employee chooses what they want to do in the program.
So it's an open menu then of options for the employees,
Yes.
and the purpose of the employer is to improve the well-being, the culture, hopefully create another cultural opportunity for their employee group overall.
Exactly. And this I think is the magic of a program like Gympass because we encompass all of the workforce. You get a virtuous cycle of you seeing somebody doing something different, trying something, getting better in their well-being, and sometimes inviting you. So we have challenges, for example, that the HR team can launch, and you can have, we did, for example, a steps challenge. So we did it by teams. So teams got to know one another. They got to get more active. And we saw several benefits of that. And I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later. But this is over time, I think my peers and people like me have seen how many positive effects you can have from something that seems simple in a way, but so hard to implement in a large scale and sustainably over time.
Well, it's funny. I, I'm sure you're familiar with the term gym rat.
Yeah.
Um, and in my younger years was very much a gym rat. I was working out all the time. Now I take long walks and do a lot of cycling. And so I understand the benefit that comes with being active during the day, during the workday,
Yeah.
oftentimes, taking a break. But wellness has really evolved. The concepts of wellness from a corporate point of view has evolved. There seems to me there's two elements that are converging. We talk a lot about wellness from a mental health point of
Mhm.
view, and we talk about it from a physical health point of view. And now it seems that we're talking about corporate wellness, combining those two things into a cultural element as well. How have you seen that evolution, and how do you see those things blending together?
Yeah. I think that the key change for me in the conception of wellness is this expansion that you mentioned, and nowadays we can even include financial wellness. We include emotional wellness, even the quality of the relationships that you have. So this concept in and of itself is expanding. But then what I think has significantly changed is the role of the corporation. So before, wellness is something private that people should take care of that on their own time. And now I think companies are seeing, number one, the huge effect that they can have on people's well-being, and the huge benefit that they can get from making sure that they take care of this. But we also saw in a recent survey that we just did, as this concept is not new, but whenever you choose a job, you essentially choose a company, and the company chooses you. And employees are right now in the survey we did manifesting their preferences and saying that they would significantly consider, or a significant portion of them would consider changing jobs if the company doesn't take care of their well-being or doesn't have well-being as a key priority. And many of them even say that the well-being or the efforts of well-being is equally important to salary. So this is at 93% of people, which to me is incredible.
Well, corporates have been struggling, and you guys deal with like the big broad spectrum of the global Fortune 1000 as your client
Mhm.
overall. And I know you've got up to 50,000 gyms and, just massive global network. So I want everybody to understand that you are global, you're massive in the number of people. So the data that you have is very well sourced. And I've read your 2024 reports and your different reports. They're very interesting background materials. But one of the big things we can look at companies like J.P. Morgan,
Mhm.
uh, CEO Jamie Dimon. Everybody's got to get back to the office. Everybody's got to do this, and then other companies saying, "Oh, you know what? Remote's working fine." And
Yeah.
then someone else, "Yes, but how do you do a culture with remote work, etc." And I would posit that if you can't get everybody to go to the company, but you can get everybody to go to the gym, that you can sustain your corporate culture very strongly in a remote work structure. And you can many times have an even stronger sense of community in
Mhm.
that regard. And it sounds like I'm shilling for your product, but I really believe this because I've seen it in action overall. That's a whole different dynamic, but it brings the people closer together, makes them more honest with each other, and because it adds another dimension to their relationship.
Yeah. And having the flexibility of choice, I think, also improves a little bit this as well. But in my humble opinion, I think that the every single work structure works. We can make them work as long as they're cohesive, as long as companies are making deliberate decisions that are aligned with their business needs, that are aligned with the culture that they're trying to build, and aligned with the types of employees that they're trying to hire as well. So maybe let's say you choose to have a completely remote culture, that can work as long as you create for example, these types of touch points that you go to the gym together, or you have challenges that unite people that are from different countries or different parts of the world. And because of this, they have to get to know each other. So the sense of community still builds. But if you want to get back to work and you want to get back to the office, you have to understand that this work arrangement is no longer for everybody. It's no longer the norm. So you're going to have a few people self-select in or out,
Correct.
and then you should create the other parts of your daily life to sustain that. But again, I think the beauty of combining those two things is that we in the HR side and the executive leadership of companies, I think we're seeing more and more that there is no one answer for everyone. There's no one single solution that's going to fit 100% of employees or one single format. So in knowing this and applying this, for example, to well-being as well, you have to make sure that all that you create has a level of flexibility such that the individual can find what's the right answer for them. And you are, in my view of my role, is to support that journey, is to make sure that they have the right tools, that they have the right and processes and policies around that as well. but to make sure that the employees feel the support such that they can take ownership on their side as well.
Well, that's the question I had. One of the questions I had: are the employees taking ownership themselves? Well, so let's create a scenario. Let's assume that I have a company, a large company, a multinational company that I'm operating in 5 countries, and I've got 10,000 employees, 2,000 in each country. Um, do you notice big differences in the and your system? Your system is offered company
Mhm.
wide. Do you notice big differences in the take up between different nationalities? Do the Dutch work out more than the English? Do the English work out less than the Italians? All of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And what data do you have on? I might be putting you on the spot, and if you don't have the data, just say I don't have it. But what data do you have that says my company offered this to 10,000 people? How many people did more than just sign up, but how many of them are really, really utilizing the benefit to on an let's say on an 80% of optimum basis?
Yeah.
Is it 10% or 90%? Because this is important. Adaptation of these programs. A lot of times, I put stuff together. Great idea. Everybody loves it. Nobody uses it.
Yeah.
And I go, that's it. Have you seen metrics that says, oh, the obesity level dropped down within a particular company, or oh, the days of sick days decreased? What kind of metrics do you see in these programs?
So I have a few of them off the top of my head, but not all. And your question has many parts to it. But I'll start with the ending of it, which is we have done studies with companies that work with Gympass. And we have done a very structured study to see we have a control group, we have people who have enrolled in the program but use it less frequently, and we have people who use it more than once a week every month. And this specifically is about physical activity, but we're measuring different levers and different types of activities as well. But right now, this study has shown that we can have a decrease in healthcare costs of 35%.
Okay,
So,
stop right there.
yeah.
Question: if I have a decrease in healthcare costs, meaning a lower incidence of utilization of the healthcare benefits I provide, am I, as an employer, reaping the benefit of lower rates?
So
Or do you
it's,
know that? Because as an employer, I'd immediately that's the first question I'd ask. Aha, my people are healthier than somebody else's people. I want a better rate.
yeah,
Do you
exactly.
see
So
any of that?
this is for sure one of the arguments that we have with the healthcare providers. Of course, there are a few external factors. If you are a small company and you have one serious case of disease in that year, that maybe tweak your numbers, and then the healthcare provider is not going to be as receptive of that. But this, to me, is the beauty. What we have is not only people stop using the more expensive services, so when you actually get sick, but they also increase the frequency with which they use the preventive services. So they do more checkups. They follow up on their health instead of trying to cure their disease. So that's the effect of the reduction. And then, to me, the objective of every single person in the benefits and the HR teams has to be to make sure that the vast majority of people do adopt something like this, and that they sustain over time, because this only increases, improves over time. And again, it's a virtuous cycle. The more people you have it, the more it becomes a culture around you, and the more benefits you reap. And then this is one benefit. But yes, we have less or fewer sick days. We have decrease in turnover because people get more engaged, and this has several elements to it. One, because they actually feel better, but also because they have a better relationship with people around them. They can reap the benefits of doing those activities together.
On
So,
on on the decrease in turnover,
Hmm.
Again, I'm a data freak, so I apologize. I'll keep asking you questions about that. On a decrease in turnover, do you have any metrics that says if you have 1,000 employees on this program and half of them use the program actively once a week or more, that your decrease in or your extension in life cycle, employee life cycle is 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 10 year? What do you have any metrics that says how much longer employees stay on average within a company or within a profile of company?
Yeah, we have done this study as well. I don't have it here off the top of my head, but maybe we can add as a side note here to
Okay,
the
we'll do
podcast
we'll
report.
do an article after the podcast, and we'll include
Yes,
that data.
but in the survey materials that we have, 85% of the HR leaders said that they saw a decreased cost in talent recruitment, retention, and an increase in engagement. So this is, even if you can't measure to the minimum percentage, we can see that in a day-to-day basis.
And when you talk about a decreased cost, particularly in talent recruitment,
Hmm.
battle for talent is always
Yeah.
out there. There's
Yeah.
always a battle for talent. Do you find, do your client companies find that there is that their sourcing of talent gets materially improved by having this program over some other healthcare program or something else? Does this really, do people really make a decision? Well, I'm going to go to work for Google because they use Gympass instead of Microsoft because they don't. And I don't
So
know that one company or the other, so I'm just
yeah.
using that example.
This is very interesting. So we see from the surveys that 96% of employees seek companies who prioritize well-being. So this is independently of what type of program you have. But then, for example, in Brazil, that is the first country where Gympass was launched, we actually looked at LinkedIn job openings, and
Hmm.
the number of LinkedIn job postings that list Gympass as like the top three benefits. So they say, oh, we have, um, meal vouchers, we have health insurance, we have Gympass, or some other order of this. There is a vast, vast majorities of companies using this to attract talent. And I think it's very, very smart because you show very easily how much investment the company is making in the well-being of employees, and this is a serious concern. This is a serious, or it's part of the culture of the company to have something like this.
Well, in in business today, one of the topics that we hear about, I think too much about myself a little bit, is the loneliness epidemic.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to assume, and you can fill it in, but I'm going to assume that Jim passed by bringing people together either for cross country challenges, which is something that I think is really unique. Uh, I can do more push ups than the guy in Germany. Uh, that kind of thing is always fun. It's always fun to have athletic activities. But actually, the German fellow probably do more than me. But how are you addressing, or how do you think this addresses such things as the loneliness epidemic and mental health as opposed to physical health? I think
Mhm.
we can all see how this can address physical health.
Yeah.
I think we can all see how culturally, by having another way to bring people together, there's an advantage, and it doesn't matter what it is. There's always an advantage to that.
Mhm.
It's a good one. But how do you see this addressing mental health?
So, also, the more studies come out about this, I think we know no longer to separate the verticals of well-being into completely distinct animals, let's say. So if you work out and you take care of your physical well-being, you sleep better. If you sleep better, your mental health improves, and it's again a virtuous cycle. But the way that we are looking at well-being at Gympass is to be as all-encompassing as we can be, and offering different types of solutions for different types of people. So we now have a number of, for example, meditation apps. We have a number of we have a product called Trainiac that is a well-being coach. So a Trainiac coach may talk to you, Frank, and say, you want to do longer walks. So potentially you change your nutrition here, maybe change this or that habit to help you with sleep. And all of these things also address that topic. And then we have different offerings of specifically mental health solutions. They change per country, but for example, in Brazil, we have a therapy product that also you can enroll just like a regular once a week therapy session. And we're seeing amazing results from that. We have several clients who have been using in this product and giving great feedback. But I really do believe that if you work on only one thing, it already improves all of the other ones. But if you have a combination, which is what we are trying to provide as well, is what has the best results over time.
If you were to pick one thing within the offering or within the wellness spectrum, I guess, forget Gympass for a minute, just from your broad base of experience, within the wellness spectrum, if you were to pick one thing and say, all I can do is this one thing, and it's going to have a biggest impact possible, what do you think it'd be? I know it's
I
hard. It's kind of a loaded question,
It
but
is.
you see a lot of this, Livia.
Yeah. And I've been reading a lot about it, and I particularly am biased because I have chronic illness and I'm dealing with that for many years. So I'm going to give you a loaded answer as well. I think that if you force me to pick one and only one, that would be physical exercise. And to me, it would be something building towards the future. So essentially, taking care of muscles, making sure that you are nimble, agile, and everything that you need to age well. However, in my particular experience, I think what revolutionized my life and my level of energy was the quality of my sleep and the quality of my nutrition. So when I combined the three, to me, it was a very, very clear revolution in my life and my health. And then nowadays, I do have to pick. This week, I made that choice. I wasn't sleeping very well. I was traveling, so different time zone, different pillows, and etc. And I had to make a choice to sleep 1 hour more or go to the gym. I slept 1 hour more. So now I see the effect of a good night of sleep in my energy, my focus, my everything. And then there are things that we don't even know that harm our sleep that we do every day, even watching TV until a late hour or eating too late, close to bedtime.
Yeah.
So I also have these glasses have the lenses against blue light because you're every day, all day in front of the computer. That also influences how the quality of your sleep is. But then
Yeah.
those are simple changes, very tiny, very simple. That's why I say do the most that you can.
Well,
Because the
they're all physical changes. And I think I read an interesting article the other day about longevity. I have
Mhm.
a fair amount of gray hair, so longevity is always of interest to me. Uh, and Also, when I look at the future of work, the extension of your work life is inevitable.
Yes.
We're living longer. There's a balance between younger and older employees. Younger employees won't be able to support older employees at some point as that balance picks up or
Mhm.
goes out. It's a baby boomer problem if you think about it. Uh, and One of the there is a variety, just like you were getting, of these are all the things you can do to have a quality of life.
Yeah.
Um, and this isn't just work life, just a pure quality of life if you're going to do that one thing. And they indicated exercise.
Yeah.
That if you can keep at it and find joy in it, which you would do with others from your culture, from your company, and that sort of thing, that you have a tremendous advantage. And I think we're going to need that advantage and because a lot of us are not retiring at a traditional age, are saying, no, I want to keep working. I want to keep producing. I like the money. I like my job. I like my friends. I don't want to, just be relegated to doing nothing. And that takes health. You have to be healthy to do that. So exercise and exercise with others in particular is a hugely valuable element to longevity, I know.
Yeah.
So, uh, as we look at the future of work, though, as we look at the way people are working as we go forward, all the different models, the corporate, remote. I'm working from my home, so that's a remote worker. You
Mhm.
might be working from a co-working center, so you'd be a hybrid worker. There's all these different models that we're talking about now, and we know that the key, one word, is flexibility. That's the in the way that we will work today and in the future. And we've been saying for almost 10 years now that there are no occupiers of space anymore. There are only travelers. There are only travelers. And we all are local digital nomads at the least. We might be true digital nomads living in other countries and doing gig work or something, but every one of us today is a traveler on a local basis, the way we work. So, how do you bring a culture of a company together focused on well being in order to reap the benefits that you're talking about
Mhm.
when we're all in motion constantly? And when you're in motion, I'd rather be in motion, moving around from one little workplace to another, from my office to my house, from my house to maybe a restaurant for a lunch meeting, that sort of thing, than having an hour and a half commute on a train somewhere.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid that. That robs. I think that kind of commute, if you look at the people that take those commutes versus the people that don't, that work in a remote or a hybrid environment, the physical well being of the latter is much greater than the former
Yes.
because that type of static commute robs you of time, and you need time to deal with the issues, personal issues, and well being.
Yeah.
But how do you see all that as we go the next generation? How sustainable do you think this is?
Yeah. And we saw in the survey as well that the worst is not even the people who need to commute an hour and a half, but are the ones that need to commute an hour and a half and don't want to.
Yeah.
So it's the ones who would
Well, wait a
prefer to
second.
stay at
Who
home.
would want to? Who would want to?
Some people who truly value being at the office, changing environment, seeing other people. We have that. We have a few of those in our team. That's why I keep saying flexibility, flexibility. And here, to me, the only way, again, to make it work is to have coherent policies and processes and great role models. So you need to have other people who you look up to doing things the way that you would want to do them, or again, role modeling to influence you to do it that way. And I think this is a very interesting role for leaders. I think that this is a natural spotlight that we place on the leaders. If I want to get there in that point of the career as they are, I need to do things as they're doing. So the leaders need to do that. And the interesting part that I saw is 91% of directors and above say that they can take time to prioritize their well being. But
Yep.
then you go down the ladder, people who are managers, so not directors, only first line leaders, and people who are non-managers, this falls significantly. So when you're an individual contributor, only 66% say that they can take care of their well-being. So to me, this means that either we're lacking processes and culture around this, or we're missing role models, because they need to see that the leader goes maybe to a 2 p.m. yoga session, or they build breaks in between their meetings and say, I'm going to have a 10-minute meditation right now. Things like that are really, really influential to people trying to make this work. So even to me, if you are hybrid, if you are 100% remote, if you have never met your colleagues in person, if you just talk about things, it's already a great step. So things that you do, things that you value, things that are important maybe for a family member, or if you show your setup. I, for example, have a space that I do yoga twice a week at home. So I have that space dedicated to yoga. Showing those things to me has a huge impact.
Waits at my desk.
That's perfect. See? Showing
No,
that, talking about that. Yeah.
that is. So what you're saying, I think there's a couple of big conclusions here. First, you have to have a program to have a program.
Yes. Yes.
Number one, you have to turn it into a friendly discipline that you enjoy with others. Second, exercise. You
Yeah.
don't exercise, all the other elements of well-being are diminished.
Yes.
Third, it's top down.
Yes.
If the leaders aren't leading in wellness, then the non-leaders will not participate to the same degree. So the company and the individuals within the company will not reap the same benefits.
Exactly.
Those are the three big takeaways I think that I've heard today.
And I would add to the top down that it has to be top down and genuine. So,
Oh
for
yeah,
example, you just say, well, being is important for us, but you work 24 hours a day. There's no, you don't allow people to take PTO, even the most basic things. It shows. So, it has to be a top down, genuine decision, and that you implement with like deliberately across the organization.
yeah. No, I would absolutely agree with that. And I think that as we look at towards the future of work, these changes, which might seem subtle, are really tectonic in their forces.
I think so.
They're massive overall, and I think that it's something in the instability that we see in the world today. There's a little piece of sanity left in just going to work out or that 10-minute meditation time. You have to find your sanity a lot
Yes.
of times as much as your physical improvement.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, Livia, I really am grateful to you and Gympass for participating with us today. Really, really much. So, if someone wanted to learn more about Gympass or reach out to you or one of your colleagues, how would they do so?
I think our website is uh, the best channel. So gympass.com. We have all of the surveys there as well. And we have blog posts that talk about these things that we have been talking about, how to create a culture of well-being, how to engage employees. And to my fellow HR folks who are thinking about Gympass, I also need to say that we have a lot of support for us. So when you're implementing the program and you're trying to build more engagement, there's a lot of support in that as well, because we know that this is what makes the difference there is to have the whole all of the stakeholders and the whole ecosystem working towards the same direction.
Perfect. Well, thank you again very much, and I'll look forward to working out this afternoon.
Perfect. Enjoy your workout.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Frank.
Bye bye.
Bye.
If it's impacting the future of work, it's in the Future of Work podcast by allwork.space.